What's up guys, welcome back. Today I'm trying out a new series called Quick Start Guides, where I go over the god's abilities, builds and playstyles in a kind of fast-paced video for people to learn the basics of the god fairly quickly. This series won't be going too in-depth as it's aimed at beginners mainly to the god, but there will be a bit more advanced information near the end of the video for some people that want that. Any feedback or criticism will be greatly appreciated to improve the series. Also let me know if this is something you want to see more of from me in the future or if I should try some other stuff out. But let's get into it. Today on Quick Start Guides we're going to be covering Thor, the Norse god of thunder. Thor is an ability-based assassin with high burst damage and crowd control along with good mobility. Let's get right into his abilities. Let's start with Thor's passive, Warrior's Madness. Thor gains physical power for each enemy god within 30 units of him. This can stack up to 3 times and gives 10 physical power per stack. This passive is really simple and it's not something you really need to pay attention to when you're playing Thor in game, but the extra power can be really great if you initiate onto multiple people in a team fight. Especially early game, like having 30 power is like almost an item worth of power in the early game, which can be pretty good. But like I said, it's not something you need to keep track of or something that's weaved into his kit, it's just some extra power for when you're diving people. Thor's first ability, Mjolnir's Attunement. Thor throws Mjolnir forward, doing damage to all enemies in his path. If hit twice, minions will take half damage, while gods will take double damage from the return swing. While the hammer is flying, Thor can press the button again and will teleport to his hammer. This ability is a good portion of Thor's damage, as well as his main mobility. So it's important to use this ability correctly when you're playing Thor. It can provide huge burst damage with the double tap it can do to gods, hitting the outswing and the return swing, and provides a large amount of Thor's early game burst damage if you level this ability first. It can be used to chase kills or get away fairly easily as well, since it can go through walls. On to Thor's second ability, Tectonic Rift. Thor slams the ground with Mjolnir, creating a rift in the ground that stuns enemies in a line while also creating a wall that blocks player movement. Tectonic Rift is a really big part of Thor's combos and synergies that we'll talk about a bit later. It's a very versatile ability, providing long-range CC and setup, while also having the option to be used to like wall people off into a bad spot since it blocks player movement. Onto Thor's third ability, Berserker's Barrage. Thor spins Mjolnir in a circle around his location, dealing damage every 0.5 seconds in a circular AoE around him. He can move freely while channeling, but cannot cast other abilities or relics. This is easily Thor's most simple ability. It does a good amount of damage if you can keep someone in the AoE for the full duration, but it can be cancelled by CC like silences and stuns. But he is knock-up immune while channeling, which is worth noting. On to Thor's ultimate, Anvil of Dawn. After channeling for a short time, Thor leaps into the air and can target any location up to 200 units away from him to crash down, doing damage and stunning any enemy in a 20 unit radius for 1.5 seconds. This is really the icing on the cake that ties Thor's kit together. It's his main initiation tool and also allows for combos as other abilities that we'll talk about after item builds. He can cover huge distances and gank lanes really well with this ability, which cements him as a great jungler in the conquest role, and he can also rotate very quickly between lanes in other game modes. Alright, let's talk briefly about Thor's ability leveling order. At level 1 you want to take Mjolnir's Attunement for safe lane clear and long range poke, plus the mobility if you need to. At level 2, take Berserker's Barrage for extra damage and minion clear. At level 3, you have a choice between either taking Tectonic Rift for some more CC, or another point in one of his damage abilities, so more burst damage. From there, you can max either your 1 or your 3 depending on matchups and your skill level. For example, maxing Thor's 3 against Nox is bad because you can silence it super easy, so max your 1 in that case. But against Aplash, he has no way of stopping your spin, so you should max your 3 in that case. Once you max your 1 and your 3 fully, you can then look to put points into his ultimate or Tectonic Rift. The order of this is personal preference. Maxing the ult gives more damage, but maxing the 2 gives more CC on a lower cooldown, so take your pick for which one is more useful in your current match. Alright, on to item builds for Thor. With Thor, you want to get as much power, penetration, and cooldown reduction as possible, along with a little bit of defense if you feel it's necessary to give you some survivability. These stats allow him to do more damage with abilities while also having them up more often. Right, let's do some quick starting builds. If you're going to be playing Thor in Jungle and Conquest, which is probably where most people will play him if they're playing him in Conquest, you want Bumba's Mask, Bluestone Pendant, and 4 potions of your choice. I recommend 3 health and 1 mana potion, but you can choose which you prefer. If you're running out of mana a lot, you can go to 2 mana. This gives you extra sustain from potions and Bumbas, plus extra early game damage and clear from Bluestone Pendant. In other game modes, or in solo lane as Thor, just drop the Bumba's Mask and pick up tier 1 boots instead. This will allow you to grab some extra potions if you want with the spare 200 gold that you get. As for boots on Thor, it's Warrior Tabby. This is the essential pair of boots for any ability-based assassin, and Thor is no different in that regard. Some other items you could choose from: Jotun's Wrath, Hydra's Lament, Shifted Shield, Brawler's Beatstick, Titan's Bane, Heartseeker, Masamune, Spirit Robe, Mantle of Discord, and Hide of the Urchin. Any of these items or any combination of these items should do pretty well for you, as they all provide stats that are useful to Thor, like defense, power, cooldown reduction, and penetration. I'll just give a quick full build example for those of you that just want a build you can default to without having to think too much about like counter building and choosing items and things. Warrior Tabby, Jotun's Wrath, Hydra's Lament, Shifter's Shield, Mantle of Discord, and Titan's Bane. This build gives you some good early cooldown reduction, penetration, and damage in Warrior's Heavy, Jotun's Wrath, and Hydra's Lament. Then it transitions in the mid game into a bit more of a tanky build with items like Shifter's Shield and Mantle of Discord, and then finishes it up with a Titan's Bane for your percent penetration to deal with tanks in the late game. Alright, I'll just talk fairly briefly about Thor's playstyle and combos. As Thor, you want to be playing aggressive in the early game, abusing his high base damages and strong CC to land early kills and try to snowball off those. His semi-global ultimate can be really helpful with providing fast rotations and ganks in the mid game. In the mid to late game, Thor usually transitions into a more bruiser type role as an initiator for the team with his CC and less reliant on his burst damage. Though if you do build in full damage, it can still have pretty high burst late game. Thor's main role is jungle in Conquest, but he can sometimes work in solo lane as well. Thor's main poke tool is his double tap on his one. You can go for a double tap on its own by just throwing the hammer out, but most of the time you want to look to stun them from range with Tectonic Rift, so you have the stun to confirm both hits of double tap for some solid poke. You can also add to this by teleporting to the hammer after it hits and spinning with Berserker's Barrage for some extra damage. You maybe look for kills that way. Thor's ultimate is his main engage tool, so the combo you want to be doing with this when you're landing on someone for the maximum damage on a single target is landing, throwing Mjolnir out, stunning them with Tectonic Rift, and confirming the second hit of the hammer, and then you can spin if you need extra damage at the end of the combo. This can really often 100-0 people fairly earlier in the game with this combo, and it allows Thor to really control the early game with ganks using his ultimate. Though it is worth noting with the ultimate, sometimes it's better to use Berserker's Barrage if you land like a multi-man ult and you can hit multiple people with the spin damage, because that will be overall better DPS. That's about it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed the new series. As I said at the start of the video, any feedback would be great, so let me know if you enjoyed the video or not, so I can know if you guys want more of this series. That's about it. Peace out, nerds.